Okay, thank you very much. So hi everybody, my name is Ralph Bagnall. I'm a PhD researcher at the University of Bath, and I'm going to be talking to you today about my recently accepted paper, Deceptive Behaviour in Autism, a Scoping Review. Screen seems to be quite slow, moving between slides. Okay, there we go. So autism spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental condition best characterized by difficulties with social communication and social understanding, and certainly difficulties with understanding other people's mental states or theory of mind, all of which would suggest that autistic people have difficulties with deceiving others. And this would certainly be in line with common beliefs that autistic people are highly honest and they rarely lie. So we aimed to establish current psychological understanding of autism and deceptive behaviour through scoping review methodology. And from searching the databases, we identified 450 articles, and after screening included 28 studies in the review published between 1989 and 2021. And I'm now going to talk you through the 3 main themes and 7 sub-themes that summarise the data. So theme 1, deception ability and prevalence. So 22 studies looked at the extent to which autistic people can engage in gameplay paradigms, such as the hide and seek task. And the findings were pretty clearly that there was broadly lower deception ability and prevalence amongst autistic children and adolescents than non-autistic comparisons. There's currently very little research for autistic adults, but a very recent paper that came out suggests that autistic adults can deceive a computer opponent as successfully and frequently as non-autistic comparisons. 7 studies looked at naturalistic deception, just spontaneous displays of deception where the participants hadn't been instructed to lie. And the findings suggest that the majority of autistic children do tell spontaneous lies, but struggle to maintain their lies during follow-up questioning or to maintain control semantic leakage. And autistic adults do self-report using naturalistic deception, often as a form of self-protection and sometimes involving quite nuanced social reasoning. So the second theme we identified was psychological correlates of deception. So 14 studies examined verbal, intellectual and social ability in relation to deception. There were fairly mixed findings on the relationship between verbal ability and deception in autism, but we did see that gameplay deception performance does seem to be significantly and positively associated with social interaction skills. 14 studies examined theory of mind and deception, and again, mixed findings for a relationship between theory of mind and deception in autism, with some studies finding a positive significant relationship and others finding no relationship at all. And 8 studies looked at executive function, of which only 3 used specific executive function measures. But interestingly, the most recent study from this section found that working memory was positively related to both frequency and ability of gameplay and naturalistic deception in autistic children, whereas theory of mind wasn't related. And the final theme is social learning. So 3 studies looked at the extent to which deception ability in autism can be improved through training. All 3 found that training did improve deception ability, though admittedly 2 of the studies only had very, very small sample size. And the other study used a theory of mind training program and an executive function training program, and found that each significantly improved gameplay deception in autistic children. And finally, 7 studies looked at the extent to which the reading and understanding of social contexts impacts deception ability. And the findings are pretty clear that diminished social understanding in autism acts as a barrier to deception. So, for example, autistic people's deception performance seems to be enhanced in conditions which have fewer social cues or are perceived as non-social. But it also seems that autistic adults learn the benefits of deception from social experience. So these results challenge the conception that autistic people are unable to deceive, but it's also clear that autistic children seem to deceive less often and less skillfully. The extent to which this pattern continues into adulthood is currently unclear. There's very few studies with adults, but the few that there are suggest there may be some improvement in deception ability in autistic adulthood, and the reasons for this are somewhat unclear. But they may be to do with potential compensatory routes used by autistic people to account for diminished theory of mind. So autistic people may rely more heavily upon working memory and effortful reasoning to account for difficulties with taking other people's mental states. So my take-home message for scholars is that deception research for autistic populations presents significant opportunities for better understanding both deception and autism. And for practitioners, I'd emphasize that whilst autistic people may tend to be more honest, they can and do engage in deception. Thank you very much.